I see you now.
How are you?
Trying. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Damn, is it okay? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you
What's
all
up?
good?
What's up, Les?
I'm
Good.
chilling, man. I'm chilling, man. So first and foremost, congratulations on the win with your fighter Richardson Hitchins.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's get into it. What did you think of the performance first and foremost?
First of all, I just want to like clear some notions. Um, People they were saying when they was watching the fight, there was confusion in the corner because I had Yoel Judah there, and that's further from the truth. It was no confusion whatsoever. Yoel was on the same page that I was on. Secondly, a lot of people look at the fight and they say they feel like Richardson lost. But if you watch the fight closely, he didn't lose. He didn't lose. They say styles make fights, right? So that particular style for Richardson's style was expected. It was expected because the guy, uh, Gustavo Limos, was a aggressive, come forward type fighter. So so people complained about Richardson holding, but there's a such thing of necessary holding and unnecessary holding. In this case, it was necessary. You had a small ring. The ring was very small, so it was like the bull and the matador. You got to control the bull. Richardson is the
Yeah,
matador.
but coach, first thing is it was obviously excessive holding,
It wasn't excessive.
and a matador doesn't hold to keep the bull away from him.
No, you keep turning
He's
them. You keep
slick.
turning
He
them.
turns.
You keep turning them. You keep turning them. But again, you got to look at the size of the ring. The guy was very aggressive, and there has been a lot of fights, like when Ali fought Joe Frazier. He had to tie him up. So those were tactics. Those were strategic tactics in order to try to nullify Gustavo Limo's aggression. And secondly, he was so aggressive. Yes, he caught Richardson in the eighth round with a big shot. But Richardson weathered the storm. He weathered the storm and he came up out of it. And if you look from rounds 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7 up to the eighth round, Richardson was winning them rounds. And he won. And even after the eighth round when he got hurt, going into the ninth and the 10th, he won. He swept those rounds. So because like I'm gonna be honest with you, um, when I watched the fight at the fight, my vantage point, I clearly said that this is a draw or even a split decision. But when I came home and I watched the fight on the zone, the kid was winning. He was winning. Yeah, there were some moments that Gustavo Limos had, but a lot of those shots wasn't coming off. They wasn't coming off. They was not coming off. So again, if you watch the fight, closely, like I suggest for everyone to do, watch it again, and you'll see that. Yeah, Stopper was aggressive. Joe Frazier was aggressive with Ali, but Ali still beat him. Sugar Ray Leonard when he fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Hagler was aggressive, but Leonard beat him. He beat him. So you got to just watch the Tank.
Uh,
Tank Davis when he fought
Arguably.
Pitbull. Everybody thought Tank lost, but because it was the styles, you understand. So you got to give Richardson that. You got to give Richardson that. You have to give him the fight. I would be the first to admit if he lost, he lost. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I'm gonna be like, yo, he lost the fight.
Now, coach, you could be heard on the television. You and Joel Judah, y'all were on the same page because y'all was telling him to let his hands go. That he had to throw more punches.
And, 100%. And he threw him. And he got into the pocket. He pushed Limos back. If Richardson would have kept going around, running around, he would have lost the fight. And I told him that.
So
But
what do you guys do now? Obviously, you're not the manager. Keith Conley is. You're not the promoter. Eddie Hearn is.
right,
But
right.
do you, as a trainer, do you want him to get another fight, which is what he was saying, like maybe a Regis or someone else, or should he do what the fans are demanding, that he give Gustavo Limons that rematch?
I wouldn't give Gustavo Lemos a rematch because he lost. I wouldn't give it to him. And if I'd be the first to tell him, yo, we don't need that because he already proved to Matchroom. He proved to people who said that he didn't have no heart. You understand? He proved that he had heart, that he was very resilient under adversity, and so I mean, again, like, he proved what he needed to prove. I wouldn't say suggest that he gave because it's unnecessary. There's a lot of fights that's out there that he can get aside from Mustafa Limos. It wouldn't even make sense.
Now,
We-
isn't this fight a reminder of a Castillo Mayweather, a Maidana Mayweather? And Mayweather gave those rematches, man.
Yeah, Mayweather gave those rematches, but we're not going to give those rematches. Well, sure, I don't think we should do it. I think that he did his job, and because the disparity was far. Like it wasn't just like a split decision. It was unanimous. So if it was a split decision or a draw, then it would make sense. But I don't think it makes sense right now. I don't think it makes sense. I think we need to move on, and I think that we need to fight for the WBC, or IBF or whatever it is that comes next, because he's in that position. It was an eliminator, so and
What's your
that's that.
thoughts on, after the fight, post-fight interview? Eddie Hearn is saying we definitely want to bring Gustavo Limons back. He's the type of fighter that Matchroom wants and DAZN wants. I mean, that's like directly saying the opposite of the fighter you have signed, in my opinion. That's how I interpret it. You're telling
I
me
mean,
that Hitchins won, but Gustavo's is the one that you want back.
I think that he's saying that because you see that Gustavo is a very aggressive fighter. He brings the fight and different things of that nature. You got to understand that Matchroom, they always want these action-packed fights. So you see, Gustavo Limos is a guy who brings the fight. He brings the fight. So that's why I believe that's what it was. It was a good fight between him and Richardson Hitchins. On the day of the fight, on the night of the fight. So I mean, he earned his keep. That's all
Do,
I can say.
Do you think this was an eye opener for your fighter? I mean, before this fight, during fight week, he was heard, calling Gustavo's a nobody, and that he only had fought bums, and that there was no. He even had a debate with one of the reporters saying that he was mad at a reporter saying, why did that reporter believe Gustavo's would give him a tough time?
I think
Ultimately,
that I think that all fighters, when they about to fight, they have to show that they're not afraid. And sometimes confidence can be misconstrued for arrogancy. I think that what you saw was a lot of confidence. I mean, if I had to go into a fight, everybody speaks differently. If I had to go into a fight and I had to fight someone, I'm gonna say, yeah, he's not gonna beat me. But my dialogue might be different. My discourse could be different. You understand? Look at Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. They talking smack to one another, and they saying that the other is not going to beat the other. So I think that's what you saw, and people misconstrued his confidence for arrogancy.
Coach, how did you take Shakur Stevenson's statement that if Hitchins would have trained with him, he would have knocked out Gustavo Limons?
All you got to do is think about the Shakur knockout De Los Santos. De Los Santos was a big puncher. Shakur did not do that, which is what he said. Richardson had a good camp. He had good sparring. He trained, appropriately for this fight, which is why he didn't get tired in the fight. I think the Shakur is just talking, and Shakur's my dog, but I mean, we did what we had to do to win the fight. Maybe it wasn't a good fight or sloppy fight, But I think like what's his name? What's the guy that trained Georgie Benton once said? He said, "You get the W anyhow you get it, and tomorrow you just fight better." And that's it. And Shakur needs to fight better. You know,
Speaking of,
Africa Richardson needs some things that he needs to work on, you know, and to develop into a full-fledged professional fighter and move on. And I think that this fight is gonna make him change some things. It's gonna make him change, just like Shakur's fight when he fought De Los Santos should make him change some things. You understand? And it's the same.
absolutely. So, Coach, you said this fight will make Hitchins work on things, and that you thought he was in great conditioning.
I
You
think
said
he
you
was.
you said you went and rewatched the fight. I'm sure you seen there were several rounds where in the clinch he's looking at the clock. So
Well, you
people
know what? You see, you can see that. See, people just don't understand boxing to a certain degree. When Sugar Ray
educate
Leonard,
us, educate us.
I'm going to educate you. I'm going to educate you on some things. Like, first of all, heavyweights, when they fight, they clinch. When Richardson I'm going to give you some jewels right now. And that was smart. When you get hurt, what Richardson Hitchins did, he tied him up and he walked him clearly across the ring to gather himself, which is a strategy. You understand? I said, when you get hurt, you just don't hold on like this and then you gotta tie that man up, come up out of it, and walk him clean across him. That was his old school move there. And I had Richardson watching a lot of old school boxers. Secondly, when Sugar Ray fought, who was that he fought? And 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 Angelo Dundee said 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So that made Sugar work. That made Sugar work. So if Richardson is looking at the clock, he's not looking at the clock because he's tired. He's looking at when and how he should be getting to work. He should work. It's strategic. It wasn't that he was tired. You understand? Because if you notice, certain rounds, when he looked up at the clock, he won the round, and then he started moving around. And then the clock won, then the bell rung. So he was being strategic when he done that, when he performed in that fashion. It wasn't because he was tired. Because when he sat down, he was not huffing and puffing like Lemos was. He was not huffing, so he was being strategic. And just like the 12th round, he had to dig deep, but he felt like he had to fight in the bag, so he just boxed. He just boxed. And he beat him with a jab, easy.
Did you give him the 12?
Of
Rewatching
course.
it?
Of
Wow,
course.
you gave him the 12,
I
coach.
gave him the 12. I gave him the 12. I gave him the 12.
You gave
Because
Hitchens
Lemos,
the 12.
I gave Richard the 12. I
Oh.
gave Lemos, watch it again. I'm going to help you out. Watch it. Lemos didn't touch him. He was aggressive and he was putting up those antics, but he didn't touch him. And Richardson was the busier fighter. The jab was eating him up. The jab was eating Lemos up the top. Bang, bang, bang. 1, 2, bang. Lemos messed up also when he did that, hit his leg like this. Remember when he hit his leg like, come on, like that? And what did Richardson do? He looked at him and he hit him with a 2-piece. Bang, bang. And then he left him with 1. Bang. Those was all scoring back, all scoring point. One thing you got to remember, Africa was a good amateur. So he has an idea of the point system. So he feels as long as I'm touching you, I'm winning the fight. And if you watch the fight on the 12th round, just watch it. Go back to it, pay attention to it, and you're going to say, yeah, he won. Because Lemos didn't touch him. Lemos had a moment where he threw flurries. And the flurries did not touch him. Because I looked at all that. He threw flurries, and the flurries didn't touch him. I said, oh, shit, he ain't touching with none of that. So the judges are looking at that. All the judges gave him the 12th round, as a matter of fact.
Nah, they did. I believe
All
me,
of them gave,
they did.
that's what I'm trying to tell you. See, that people are looking at Lemos' aggression. They're looking at Lemos' aggression. You understand? But they're not looking at, yes, He do some good body work, but Richardson did got good body work too. And he pushed him back. And he was pushing, when I was like fighting the trenches, pushing back, he did it. And he was winning those rounds. Clearly, Richardson thought I was telling him something wrong. Then he called me like 4:30 in the morning and said, "Oh, Sweat, all those rounds you told me to push it and let my hands go, I was winning." I said, "I told you that." But if you'd have kept running around, he wouldn't have won. So when a boxer, when a boxer fights a guy like Lemos, you have to box and you have to get in the trenches. Because if you don't, the aggressive guy, the height, he will get him. So he had to sit in the pocket. He had to. He had to sit in the pocket. And that's what Sugar Ray did with Hagler. He moved around, and then he had his moments in the pocket. He had to. You understand? He had to.
Sure.
So that's why I give Richardson. I think he fought a gallant fight. I think in the midst of adversity, he showed that he has some resiliency, and he was able to come back, and push the man back and win the fight. Again, like I said, just watch the fight again, and I suggest to everybody to do it and pay really close attention. And when you start paying close attention, because I watched that fight like 3 times, and I was like, "Oh, he did win that round. Oh, he did win that round. He did win it." You understand? So that's what it was. I gave Richardson the first round 1. I gave him round 4. I gave him round 5, all the way up to the 8th round. All the way up to, and then after the 8th round, watch it again. He beat him the 9th and beat him the 10th. And the 10th is where he really beat him. You understand? And the 12th, just watch. Watch. You'll see. Just pay attention. Watch it again.
I got a few questions here from the people, and we'll be done. We got Ruin 504, New Orleans. He says, are there any improvements needed to Hitchinson's ability to fight on the inside?
Of course, 100%. I think that he needs to learn how to shift from one side to the next. I think that because he's used to that Mayweather roll and all that Philly cell, it makes him stay on one side. But when you like this, like James Toney, when James Toney fought, he would be here, he would be here, he touch your hair, shifting, rolling, roll. So I think his inside game could get better. And I also think that he needs to keep his left hand up. And what I'm telling you is what I'm going to be telling him. And he's seen the fight because he was open for a lot of right hands. He got hit with some big shots. So, yes, I think that that's what he needs to improve on. And maybe it's some strength. He needs to build up a little bit more strength.
Otto, greetings, Coach. Lenny, in your opinion, what's the toughest part of being a trainer that a lot of people may not know?
The toughest part of being a trainer is sometimes getting the fighter to do what the trainer believes that he needs to do in order to get better. And so because you got every kid has that when kids have talent, it sometimes sometimes it's difficult to penetrate them because they feel like they're so good, you know. But when you're a good coach, you can dispel that misnomer, and and they can win fights and they start listening. So one of the things is getting them to listen and follow instructions sometimes.
I got New York Bullet. What up, Coach? If the rematch ever happens with Lemos, what could be done different for a clear victory?
Uh, I think he could keep his left hand up, fight more, just a little bit more in the pocket. Bully Lemos a little bit to offset him, and little different things like that. Because Lemos is not a good inside fighter. He's not a good inside fighter, not at all.
I have, what up, Coach? This is Donald from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. How many years did it take for you to become a great coach?
Oh, I've been like boxing like in boxing all my life. I started when I was a kid. Um, I went to the penitentiary, did time. I became the junior middleweight, welterweight champion. And when I came home, I just stuck with boxing. So I'm talking about that was I came home in like 1990. So so I say I started boxing working with the likes of Curtis Stevens, Anthony Irons, and all of us growing up in Starlight City, strong brother. So boxing. So I'm looking at shoot, like let me see, I came up in 90, like 90 since 95, 96, somewhere in there.
I got Alex Vega from West Palm, Florida. What would you say Hitchins did best in the Limons fight, and what was the most challenging for Richardson during this last matchup?
Well, I think that he did best when he fought in the pocket. I think he did best when he fought in the pocket because that way he was able to steal a fight. He was able to steal a fight and show the resiliency and the heart that people thought he didn't have, right? And what was the other question?
And he said, what was the most challenging for Richardson during this matchup?
Adjustment. I think it was adjustment, making the adjustment to win the fight.
I have Bougie and Broward that says, "What's up, coach? Thanks for pulling up. Just tell your fighter to stay in the gym, stop with the Twitter beefs, and stay away from elites like Haney. Thanks to you again for pulling up." So basically, he's been having a lot of words for Devin Haney, but styles make fights. Just because that fight looked the way that it did with Lemos doesn't mean that, it looks the same with Hitchins versus Devin Haney, which is the WBC champion currently. It is fight week. Saturday, we'll find out who keeps that belt. That being said, you said you would like to see him go that WBC route. How does a fight play out with he and Devin Haney in your eyes?
Well, if Devin was to fight Richardson, right? I think I would look at it like a James Toney fight versus a Mike McCullough. If you ever watched that fight, because they're both skillful fighters. They're both skillful fighters. They both know how to box. They got good footwork, good fast twitch muscles, and different things of that nature. But yeah. So that's why I would look at that fight like a James Toney versus Mike McCullough.
What? Obviously, I don't want you to give us detail, but why does Hitchins have so much confidence versus Haney? How well did he do in whatever sparring session he had?
Because they sparred on more than one occasion. They sparred on like three. They sparred like 3 or 4 times, maybe. They
And
sparred in.
and is that recent or were they teenagers?
They, they was young, like they was young, and I think the most notable one was when they sparred in Adams' gym, Bones Adams' gym, and Mayweather's gym.
Hmm.
And I think that particular moment they sparred like 4 times. One, two. So yeah, they sparred like 4 times. When they sparred once in New York when they was young, and then when Haney uh, was coming up, they was in their teens, I believe, 18, 19, 20 in that area. They were sparring then like that. So I think that they're just familiar with one another. They're familiar with one another, so they both could talk smack because they've been in the ring with each other at some point in time on many occasions.
I got James Benitez that says, "Coach, F what these fans talking about. Africa performed great, and most of the other 140 pounders would have lost. My question is to you, today's topic. Does Shakur or Tank currently get into the Hall of Fame? And is Devin telling the truth? Does he and Tio get in as well?"
I think that Tank will get into the Hall of Fame.
Today, if he retired today with these
Tank
accolades, or you mean at the end of his career?
at the end of his career.
Okay.
End of his career, I think Tank. I do think Devin, because he was an undisputed champion. Let me see. Who else used to mention Shakur, right?
Shakur, which is
I think,
currently a 3-division champ now.
yeah, but I think that Shakur, needs to show more. I think Shakur needs to show more. I think he needs to develop into a full-fledged professional fighter. Because and even some of the things that that you see some fighters like he's still doing some amateur things. Like, he's really not in the pocket. Like again, like De Los Santos, right? He could have made it a better fight. But he said he had a hand injury, so he was able to beat the guy with one hand. But I think that he needs more to prove. Like Richardson, he proved that he had that dog in him. You understand? He was in there with a tough guy. He didn't run. He stayed in the pocket. He let his hands go. He pushed him back. And at the end, he just outboxed him. So we need to see more grit from Shakur, as far as I'm concerned. Not that I'm trying to take anything away from him. So whether he would get into the Hall of Fame, it remains to be seen. It would have to be growth. But I think Devin, because of the name of people that he fought, the Lomachenkos and those good other fighters, the Linares, who were tough fights, I think that would solidify the deal for him.
I have Rod in L.A. Hey, Coach, respectfully, for me, Gustavo Limos won that fight. I believe Hitchins and Limos should run it back. What do you think, Coach? Please share. You already gave your thoughts on that one.
Tell him I said he needs to watch the fight again and pay close attention. Just don't look at the aggression. Don't look at the aggression because there's one thing about short fighters. They say short fighters is always the beloved of the fans. They're the beloved of the fans because they try so hard and they keep coming. You understand? So fans gonna love that. But when you watch the fight again, you're gonna see that he did not win.
Coach, let everybody know where they can find you. Those are all the questions. We want to thank you, obviously, for coming on. Look forward to getting you back on, and congrats
Sure.
on the win.
Thank you. You can reach me at Coach Lenny _100 rounds. That's RDZ on Instagram. And Lenny B. Wilson on Facebook.
Appreciate you, Coach, man. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to
Appreciate you.
be here.
All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Coach Lenny Wilson.